Welcome to Little Victories, the self-help comedy podcast that proves success isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Hosted by fast-talking firecracker Richie DeFrisco and the ever-sly Pat the Cat Murray with the Pat Facts. This is Little Victories.
Welcome back to Little Victories podcast. This is a very special episode, and I'll discuss why. Pat, I don't think you have any idea, so I'll just leave it at that. Do you know why today is a very, very, very special day on our podcast?
Oh, 100%. Episode 20. Episode 20.
Good for you. He's smart, this guy.
You know. I just want to start off by saying thank you to the subscribers, to our viewers, to our fans, and most importantly, our guests that shared their stories with us so far. Richie and I do this as a labor of love, and your support helps us move forward.
That's not completely true. I want to make money from this, too.
Yeah, well, that's always the dream. But
if I don't make money, I'm screwed.
Yep.
But
never want to forget, though, LMC Media Studio on the Ave, Astrid, who's right across the room from us right now.
Astrid, you're a babe.
Just giving us this space on our platform to share the stories with the world. And thanks again, But like always, we have a very special guest with us today.
Wait, now you're doing the intro. You got a pair, don't you?
Well, come on now.
All right, go ahead. You could rock. You know what? This is my gift to you. Go ahead. Introduce the guest.
Wow, what a pleasure. So, without further ado, I want to welcome our guest, TK Mills. He's the founder and editor-in-chief of Up Magazine. TK, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Hello, my boy.
Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor. And congrats on 20 episodes. I know, like
deal.
anything, plugging them out takes time and energy.
I counted you out. I said, there's no way he even knows what I'm saying. And you knew. Good for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Good for you. TK, it's an honor to have you here. I was so excited when I got outside. I'm smoking my cigarette, and I'm like, I hope he fucking comes. And then I see you walk by. I said, is that him? And then it was really, thank God.
Yeah.
It really is a pleasure. We've intertwined because you're in the art mix.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to events in this city, you always see the same people. Like, we all just kind of go to, whether it's a sticker party or this or that, and you're in the soup. And you really hustle this, but what you've created as this online publication and these magazines are, you're getting the job done.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
The work of Up Magazine is so polished and so important to art that there's no way that if you're even in this city that you are not familiar with Up Magazine. I refer you guys all the time. I meet artists all the time that don't even know what's really out there.
Yeah.
And I always reference, for films, like, listen, follow non-films, Bronx documentaries, all of these art resources. But you've created a significant resource for artists and for people that are, that are intrigued by, the art world.
Yeah. No, we try and stay tapped in with the community, man. I mean, I think for me, being in the art community in New York and working with Up really gave me kind of a sense of purpose at a point in my life when I was feeling a bit down. So, that's kind of what keeps me going with it,
We're brothers.
Yeah. I mean, so just, kind of walk us through it,
The beginning.
Day one to day, it has to be in the 100.
Well, we actually, last week was our 7-year anniversary, so I don't know what 365 times 7 is, but something like that.
All right.
But yeah, man, so I, growing up, I grew up in Peekskill, New York, not too far from here. I was not an art kid. I mean, I played music, and I was really into music. I played guitar, but I wasn't really a visually talented person. It wasn't my thing. I went to school out in Colorado. I did my undergrad in political science and international affairs. Took a gap year, got a job teaching English in Thailand, backpacked around, had a great time. Came back to New York for grad school, ended up getting my master's in transnational security. Originally wanted to go into diplomacy, but right as I was graduating, it was the first Trump administration. Didn't want to work for him. Kind of took a hard pivot. They had just opened up travel to Cuba, and so I went to Cuba just kind of on a whim for 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. And I was down there just kind of like, well, what the fuck am I going to do with my life now? And I'd always been a big reader, and one of my favorite authors was Hemingway, and he has a big presence down there. And so I was like, fuck it. While I'm here, I'm going to try and be a writer. If I can write something, I'll pursue this as my new life path. And one of the stories I ended up writing while I was down there in Cuba was on this artist Fabian, who's since kind of blown up a bit. But I did a story on him, and it got published in this London publication on street art. And it was cool because it was like the first thing I'd ever written, outside of school that got picked up. I was like, oh, there's something to this. And then, after that trip, I went back to Bushwick where I was living at the time. And I kind of took a newfound appreciation of sort of the walls. Because I always like street art and graph, but like, when you don't know it, it's like a little bit of like visual white noise. And after that trip, I came back, I really started to see it. And so, from there, I was freelancing, writing for a couple different publications. Most of them were more fine art focused, which, I could appreciate fine art in sort of the contemporary gallery world. But my passion was really, with the street stuff. And so after having a couple of my pitches shot down by some of the publications I was writing for, I was kind of bitching and moaning to a mentor of mine. He was like, well, why don't you start your own magazine? And I was like, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know about that. And I was right. It's been a lot of work, but that's kind of where the idea for Up came from. And so in the beginning, it was me, and I recruited the one other street art journalist I knew, Victoria Benzine. She brought in her friend, Christina Leah, and then we found Lonnie Richards was our photographer. And the original conception of Up was just the four of us. We would meet in my apartment every day, working, writing, editing, hashing out ideas, passing it back and forth. And then over the past 7 years, it's grown where we've got a network of different freelancers that we work with. We also, during COVID, we kind of stepped into a little bit more of like the event side of stuff where we do a lot of our own events. And yeah, man, we've just been keeping it pushing and try and take things to the next level with it, you know?
This is an important question. I want to know if you just made that all up.
No, it's
that's real?
Yeah, there's like a lot of little caveats and divots and stuff, but that's the broad strokes.
It's like and I thought my story was impressive. My story is nothing now. It's like you lived 10 lives.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the things. It really, again, falling into the street art world helped me like kind of reinvent myself, and that's really like the passion that held me to it. Because it was like, coming from politics,
From politics.
there was just a vibe that I didn't really get along with, versus street art's a lot of like helping people out, versus in the political world, it just felt, just kind of like everyone's looking to pull one over on you. And I didn't really fuck with that.
So why Up then? Why Up magazine?
So like, why the name?
Why the name? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was kind of hashing out ideas with that same business advisor, and I was like, oh, what do we even call the magazine? He's like, well, what's important in street art? I was like, like Getting Up. And he was like, well, what about Get Up? I'm like, that's too much. What about just Up? And so that was kind of how it came from. And since then it works because, there's so many play on words with up, like what's up, come up, get up, like so many kind of things. You just like run with it.
It's a political, it's so odd, right?
Yeah.
But we take these strange paths. Like, I'm a construction management guy.
Yeah.
By trade.
Mm-hmm.
Construction is what has paid my bills for over 2 decades. That's what we're kind of forced into. Lower middle class guys from the boroughs. It seems like you always end up in like the restaurant business or construction or sanitation, things like that. It pays our bills, and that's how we live our lives. But I always spent that extra money on the artwork, like shamelessly. Like, Is it a struggle? Yes, but it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know what. It's funny how you remind me so much of my story, but collectively, all of us, if we're not creating something, it's like you kind of hit this place that you don't want to be in mentally. Yeah. And you don't have to say anything dark, but it can go that far.
No, totally.
You just try to, even if we're making something that we can within our means, it's enough to satisfy. We wish we could record every day. And some point we might be able to. But for now, what we're able to make, what we've done in a year and a half, I'm beyond happy with what we've done so far.
No, totally, man. And it's a grind. I mean, even with Up, it's my full-time thing now, but like, especially with the way New York City's gotten so expensive, I'm looking to pick up another job. It's just like, shit's expensive, and you grind and like, there are good days, there are bad days, there are, lucrative months, and then there are months where it's like no fucking money comes in. And, you just got to learn to kind of ride the waves and make what you can with it.
So, yeah, and that's why I'm so interested in the medium that you chose is, actual print media. And in a day and age where everyone's just on their smartphones, how has, the dedication to, actual print media, been able to maybe pay your bills or support your team?
Yeah. Well, Yeah.
Well, no, because you said something completely different. I was going to say, but my big mouth, I'm chiming in. Because I want to hear this.
Yeah, so again, in a world of smartphones and everything's online, we're looking at something tangible, and I mean the quality is here, and I really hope everyone takes the opportunity to get the latest issue. But
yeah. Well, to me, man, it was like because they're not they're kind of defunct now, but at the time when I kind of came in, we sort of had a rival publication, Sold Mag, who I actually wrote for a little bit. And I ended up leaving because I was frustrated because, they didn't pay anyone, which that in itself is fine because who the fuck has a budget? But they were just killing a lot of the stories I wanted to write. And that was, part of the reason I kind of started up. But then when getting it going, to me, it was kind of like, what makes a magazine? You know what I mean? It's like, because they were all digital. They had done print for a year, I think, maybe longer, but their print was kind of like newspaper style. And it was cool, but it kind of folded out. Versus for me, I was like, I want this to feel legit. I want this to be something. And so that's kind of why we went the print route. And honestly, it costs a fortune to print, which is why no one does it anymore. But we try and kind of balance it out. Like we, publish usually 3 to 5 stories on our website each week. But the print we usually put out, once a year. And if the print, we really try and go all in. We spend a lot of time. I mean, each issue takes anywhere from 9 months to a year to put together, from the interviewing, the collecting the photos, the editing the stories, doing the layout design, doing the ad outreach, going to the printer. I mean, one of the traditions that's kind of come out of it is I'll do a road trip to pick up each new print issue. We always print in America. And a lot of the warehouses, the guys we work with, they're all Midwest. And so I'll rent a van, drive on out, kind of get a little cross-country trip going, load up the van, and then haul it back. Actually, for the most recent issue, so this is our issue 7. There's 2 volumes to it. In part because this issue took us almost 2 years to put together. And rather than cut anything when it kind of came down to the wire, I was like, fuck it, we're doing a double issue. And so the part of the idea with the print is that each issue has a different theme, and then we kind of curate all the art and articles around the theme. So, for example, the very first issue, the theme was money, in part because I was super pressed about money at the time. The second issue was travel and place, which was more of a global perspective. The third was kind of our first COVID issue, which was community and culture, kind of focusing really on the local New York scene. The fourth was politics, which was sort of the second half of COVID, after George Floyd and the protests and everything. The fifth issue was icons. The sixth was graffiti, kind of delving into the history of graffiti. And then the seventh issue was fashion and design, which was meant to kind of look at the ways in which the fashion world and the art world overlap, and the artists that kind of, dabble in both.
Yeah, we got a FIT graduate right here.
So I went to FIT in my old age, and I don't regret it. But this is when I lost my mind completely. Remember, because I'm a regular working class 9-to-5 guy, and I went to the edge of the.
I thought you were Silver
and
Spoon.
I just jumped and said I could fly. I think acid is responsible for that. Once between watching Fight Club 1,000 times and tripping on acid, it kind of just you know what? If you want to live that life of you have to put the universe is always willing to meet us halfway.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to walk towards it. You can't just expect the universe wants to give you all of and more in abundance.
No risk, no reward.
No,
right?
but you're right. But you have to hold its hand and go with it.
Yeah.
You're walking together. It will take care of the rest. Your worries, your concerns, the universe will take care of that. But walk in faith with the universe. Otherwise, the universe is saying, can you please just do what I'm waiting for you to do?
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's the basis of a regular working class or struggling artist is to just walk in faith.
Yeah. Well, I think for a lot of people, there's, the concerns. Because, I mean, everyone has a dream, but, the reality is no matter what you're dreaming, rent's due. And I think that's, even for me, that's something that's kind of been, really pressing on my mind. And I think that's kind of something that every artist, unless you kind of have, either a rich wife or a rich husband or rich parents or, some other means, it's always going to be a point of concern. And I think that's something that, I talk to a lot of artists about where, sometimes you got to get creative because it's hard to make a living just from canvas sales, because that's any kind of sales is going to be ebb and flow. I know a lot of artists that do like sip and paints, or they teach classes, or, they hustle, they're a waiter or something.
Yep.
And like you find a way, and it's like, you stick with it, and you'll find that like you said, like things come your way when you put yourself out there. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to be a millionaire overnight, but it's like, I've found success in some ways, and I've had setbacks, but it's like you got to kind of keep it pushing.
I think I don't want to put words in your mouth or put but I just kind of get the vibe, and it could be wrong. So tell me if I am. But it's similar to like I always discuss this little crew that we have here, is that it's not even an option, because historically, and I'm not alone, and you can agree, is that when we're not creating something, we're just in a bad place.
No, totally. I, even for me, I think that's one of the things I had been in a little bit of a funk, because when I started up, I was coming as someone who's a writer and loved writing. And as Up has grown, the writing has kind of had to take a back seat to being a manager and, focusing on the budget, making sure that we're on time for all of our events, and kind of like, keeping things coordinated. And honestly, man, it's not what I wanted to do. I mean, it's what's necessary for the magazine to grow. But it's been frustrating at times. And I think, it's also been a lesson for me of like finding the balance. Like, all right, I got to do the stories I want to do, and I have to make time for that, as opposed to kind of always putting it on the back burner, because otherwise it's just never going to get done. Because there's always something, man. Like there's like any small business, there's a million and one things. It's like when people order copies, I'm the one who's packing it and shipping it. I'm the one kind of sleeving it. I'm the one doing all of the emails and kind of coordinating our editors and making sure stuff's getting it on deadline. We do basically about an event a week in the city, so it's always like I'm the one doing the recruiting and the curating, and it's just there's always something. And so it's like unless you carve out time to do the thing you want to do, like that time's never just gonna appear. You know what I mean? And like that's just also work stuff. It's like I've got a wife, I've got like friends, social obligations. It's a lot to juggle, but like you kind of have to find your own balance to it,
So
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
and we've had the two guests that really come to mind are, we had Ian Cinco, who's right now putting out all of his things, Erratica, and then Bio and Nicer, when we spoke with them about how they just went from taking paint cans and painting anything they could to then actually getting commissioned and establishing a business and things like that. You've kind of had, you've had that same journey as time has gone on. How have you learned about more of that business aspect? Like, what's the most lucrative for you? Like, what are the ways in which you can still take your passion and essentially monetize it because you need it to keep going?
Right.
Like, what have you?
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually. All those people you just named are all Up alum. The Tats crew, I believe, was in issue 6, and Ian was actually in issue 5 of the print. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, we do our events, and with like a lot of the venues we work with, we basically get paid a flat fee, and they make their money from drinks at the bar. And so our goal is, one, to make sure it's a good vibe, and two, to kind of make sure people come in, support the business. And that's kind of like a lot of our baseline. And then we have the magazines for sale, as well as shirts, pins, stickers, all of that on our website. And we get sales, sometimes, like especially when we drop a new issue, the sales tend to be the hottest. Every issue we've had has eventually sold out. I imagine this one will as well in due time. We added for the anniversary, had done like a reprint of some of the older issues, so we've still got all of our back stock now. But then we also have like online ads, the website, and I go back and forth with ads because it's like, one, it's necessary to kind of fulfill the business needs of Up, but it's also, it's like, as someone who enjoys stuff, like you never want the ads to be too obnoxious. And even with the print, we sell ad space to a lot of our various sponsors. And with them, especially with the print, we always try and keep it so it's kind of like cohesive with what it is. Like, for example, I'll give a shout out to like Falsehood. They're a clothing line brand based out of the city who does like a lot of streetwear. And like they took out a page in the newest issue. And they've been very supportive of us. We've had them in a lot of our events. Like, I think it is kind of a pay it forward sort of thing. Whenever money comes in, I'm just as quickly, like we pay all of our contributors. I pay my editors and stuff. And I think that's part of it too. It's like, you know, it's not just me. It's kind of like I got to kind of make sure my people are taken care of first before I'm taking any kind of cut. But, you know, kind of looking to the future, one of the things that I've kind of been dipping my toes into and I think is necessary is YouTube. I was never a big video guy. Like, I was always more writing, but everyone's doing video now, and it seems that YouTube has, like, a lot of capacity for monetization. So we're starting to kind of try doing some more video stuff. And then sort of separately from that, there's also a project I've been working on. This guy Spencer is a director, and we've been working together, put together a TV pilot, where basically the concept for the show, it's called Art Odyssey, and the idea is that it's essentially like Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown, but instead of travel and food, it's like travel and street art. And so we filmed a pilot episode in Bushwick, and we've been finishing up, and we're getting ready to kind of pitch it out to networks. Hopefully someone picks it up. You know, again, just kind of putting it out on all fronts, seeing what lands, seeing how we learn, and kind of taking it from there.
It's the same thing. It's like, what's a phrase? I say it wrong. It's like spitting on the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, throwing something at the wall, seeing if it sticks.
Yeah.
We're trying to crack that code too, man. And it's like, you know, and this goes back to just my fascination how, you know, you're doing print media. It's like everything is online, everything is digital, and just like
yes, but my only there is a significant amount of people that like are still like adamant about artwork. So like like Ian Cinco's in plastic, Neon Spring is in with my nice stuff. On my like this is artwork. This is an art book to me.
Oh, totally. Well, that was part of the reason, too, that we kind of pay for the better quality print. Like with our paper, we do like, you know, 80 pound for the covers we do matte. So it's something that lasts because it's like, you know, even the stories, we try and make them so they're not time sensitive for the print. You know, for online, we'll do like events or this or that. With the print, it's something that kind of is evergreen. You know, it'll still be relevant 10 years from now.
Well, do you see it that way? I see it a little different. If I go into the street right now, because the way I look at it, like, I like the aging of it. The reason why is because photography is a perfect example. Photography is an obsession for me. My dream was to be Irving Penn. Still is, but I'm obsessed with photography. That's why I went back to school at FIT to get that photography degree because it meant that much, and it always will. But if I went in the street right now and I took pictures of just the cars down the block going down long, it's worth nothing. 40 years from now, oh my God, look at that photograph.
Sure. Well, it's like, you know, you're capturing a moment in time, and that's kind of what the print does too, is it's kind of like a snapshot of a certain era. And, you know, some of the artists that we've covered have really blown up. But I kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry. But like with the print, it's like, you know, because like, again, when Soul did it, they were doing like newspaper print. And I remember I had a copy of one of their issues that, you know, I just moved it and it got caught on something and it ripped. And like, I was like, fuck, you know? Versus like this, it's like, you know, they can take a little bit of a beating and they'll still kind of
and it means a lot. It's worth the money. It's funny, and I also think that it's tied to, you know, the economy right now. Something to piggyback. Now I'm officially worked 7 days a week for the last 6 months between 2 jobs, one career and one job, just to make sure everything is covered. To make sure every little odd and end is covered. So I'm working myself to death. But if I don't, I can't do these. So it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. But it's like the quality, and someone said this the other day in an interview. He said, if you want to focus on buying things that quality, so it lasts longer.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So the spending now, it's like I'm more conscious about each and every dollar than I've ever been.
Oh, sure. I think everyone is, man. I mean, even me. Like the other day, I went got groceries, and you know, it's just like meat and veggies, and it was like $80. I was like, how the fuck does it cost this much? And that's like just like, you know, a week's worth of food just for like cooking at home, not even eating out. Yep. And I don't know.
Spread.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Listen, I'm no subject matter expert, but for me, it's spread. Because once one person doubled their price, like Italians without pizza, right? Why is $3.50? Because the cheese went through the roof.
Yep.
It's like, so once everybody, it just was a domino effect.
Oh, totally.
And now you have no choice. You can't no longer charge your original rate because it's not feasible.
Yeah. Because it just, you can't afford it. And I mean, even with us, like when we started the magazine, we originally sold them for $20 a copy. We've since bumped up to $30 a copy. We still do discounts at like our release parties and stuff in person, but online it's $30. It was funny, actually. I remember I did a podcast a couple of years ago with City Kitty, and I was talking about, why he was like, well, why did you make it $20? And I was like, to me, it was like, $20 is like an adult $1 bill. It's kind of like,
It is.
But yeah, it's like, the cost of everything goes up and it kind of pushes everything all around. So
no, it's funny. I think our producer was on an episode of City Kitty too.
Oh, cool.
Once you said that, but yeah, no, I mean, again, I just bring up the point that most nowadays, right? Everything is accessible online, and it's great that you have you feed into that with the digital aspect of it, but appreciating the fact that there is still the physical print media, because I mean, this is something that I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody can access, right? You talked about your personal backstory before, and being in Cuba and being in other countries, and I was curious to know, because as this is growing and continues to grow, you mentioned that some artists have been featured that are now more exposed. So have they come back and said like, oh well, at least being featured in something tangible like this definitely helped them? And then what are kind of like, and I know you spoke on the TV pilot show, kind of more the local New York, right, within America as well, but then like maybe some of the international stuff too, like how can this reach the masses more?
Yeah, so I feel like there's kind of a couple questions to that. So like, to the point about artists coming back, I mean, no one's explicitly been like, Up Mag made me, which we haven't, you know what I mean? Everyone does their own stuff. But like, we've kind of helped give people the push, like even like we've been doing a series of anniversary posts, kind of just highlighting some of the stuff we've published over the past 7 years. And it's been cool for people like, oh, I remember when we did this interview back in 2019, like, thanks, man. Like, that really helped give me the jump. And, like, that's good to hear, because, like, to me, that's what I want it to be, that it's like, oh, like, that's why I kind of, like, call people alumni, where it's, like, almost like, we've built up a network of people we've interviewed over the years. I mean, we've published, between the print and online, we've published something like 1,500 stories. And, we've done, like, 7+ books. And it's cool to kind of see how much the reach has gone. But to the idea of like reach more broadly, we do get orders from Europe. It's been hard since the tariffs, because it's made it crazy fucking expensive to ship. But we have writers everywhere. We have, obviously New York's kind of home base, but we got some people in LA, we got people in Miami, we got people in Berlin, we got people in London, we got people in Valencia and Spain. And so, when we do a new issue, I'll hit up some of my people, just like ship them a box or two of magazines and be like, hey, if someone wants it, kind of like we'll work through there to spread it around. And we've looked into also doing direct printing overseas, but we haven't really done it yet. I mean, it's one of those things that, again, printing is expensive, and so it's sort of like, I don't want to say it's like a luxury item, but, it's like I kind of like to keep it a little exclusive. Like, we do like limited runs of like 1,000, 2,000, whatever, and we have done reprints. Like for our 5-year anniversary a couple years ago, we had sold out the first 5 issues, so we did the anniversary issue of the first 5. But I also went in and added tweaks, like I added some more photos to each of those. Showed some stuff of like behind the scenes. So it's like people who kind of missed out, they can still get this like revised edition, but also the people that have the original, they still got kind of that 101 where it's like, you were there for it. You know what I mean?
I love that. Like the first Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like once I thought all my comics that my mother spent all this money on, God, Ma, I love you. All the kind that we think at some point would be worth money, we come to find out they're worth nothing, because that's at the time they were mass produced. But imagine you had the first Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know if like one of the rock groups from the 80s has like one of those it's like Spider-Man. That comic is worth how much?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Life-changing amounts of money.
If only we had access to an original Johannes Gutenberg
Who
printing press Bible.
Who's Johannes Gutenberg?
1440, 1450, inventor of the printing press.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Pat
I don't know
facts.
what that is.
There we go.
What's a printing press?
Yeah. So
Movable type.
yeah, movable type. Come on, man. It's the establishment of print media. That's why we're here today.
Yeah.
walk me through a little bit more of because the editor-in-chief is intriguing.
Don't listen. Wait, before you go on, don't ask these long goddamn questions.
Yeah,
because
you're making it longer.
It takes you 15 minutes to ask a question that I don't even understand what you're asking.
The editor-in-chief part of it, I feel like that's like, we have our business cards there.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, I'm TK Mills, editor-in-chief, Up Magazine. Like, that's just very impressive to me.
Yeah.
Walk me through kind of that whole, because I know you're a writer and you do want to write more.
Kind of like what I do with it. So I have kind of two main editors at the moment who sort of help me out. So we have Helene, who helps do sort of the web content, basically prepping stuff for when we publish online, and Lee, who does like a lot of like the line editing. I'll do line editing too, but I honestly delegate a lot to her just because it balances the workload. And then we have Kayla as our social media manager. She does all of the posting. And so a lot of my job is, coordinating between each of them, making sure everyone's synced up and things are going. And then, I don't know if you want to know sort of like the event side too, or just kind of the editing side. But yeah, with the editing, like, again, for the print, we really kind of go in, like, we'll double check, fact check, we'll make sure everything, the capitalization, XYZ, everything's kind of hit.
Yep.
With the online, sometimes there's like kind of a bit of a press sometimes, like, okay, we got stories lined up for the next 4 weeks. We got to make sure we're kind of keeping the conveyor belt going. But if there's a typo online, someone points out, we can go in and fix that. With print, once it's out there, it's out there.
This is because acting means a lot to me. This is stage. That's it. It's out there.
Yeah.
There is no replay. There is no take 5.
Totally.
It is what it is.
Well, especially in the early issues when the team was smaller and, I was just less experienced, there was a couple. There was actually, I think, one of our biggest fuck-ups was in the second issue. We had used a template from when we did the first issue to the second one. And, the template basically in InDesign just like kind of so we didn't have to make everything from scratch again. But there was one page I messed up and I forgot to adapt the captions to the new photos. So the captions were crediting the wrong people who had been in the first issue. Oh, and we published a thing online like, hey, this is a fuck up. We're sorry. This is the actual credit. But it was just one of those things I was like, all right, you got to double check, triple check. I mean, captions is the biggest one because in articles, we've read all the articles 10 times by the time I'm putting them in layout. But the captions, it's kind of like, it's also like sometimes we're shuffling photos around. And it's like, that's like one of the things that I always make it a point to like double, triple check.
That's your press. You technically, like whatever name you have them, but that it goes under press release.
Yeah.
Because when we're working on big projects, we have to inform the public.
Yeah.
And that's a big moment. So there's a lot of back and forth. And originally when I'm like going through this stuff, I'm like, you're asking for a lot of credit, but it has to be down to dot your I's, cross your T's. It has to be down to the exact.
Yeah.
How pissed were you when this happened? This mistake. Yeah. You were pissed.
No, it was fucking upsetting. Like I was, but at the end of the day, I was like, there's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? All you can do is live and learn and kind of go it forward. Yeah, and I've gotten better about that. Some things that I would really beat myself up about, I'm kind of like, I think my philosophy is try and never make the same mistake twice. Because doing anything new, you're going to screw up. But if you learn from it, you don't repeat it.
And yeah, so, that Little Victories.
Yeah.
And so throughout the years, right, 7 years now, 7 issues, everything online. What were some of those highs and lows, but really essentially the things that keep it going, the things that get you out of bed in the morning?
Well, there's a lot. There's one story I want to tell that's kind of a fun one. So when we started the first issue, a big problem was funding, right? And so initially we had sort of this business advisor who had sort of inferred that he would kind of be the money when push came to shove. He didn't put up. So then I went around, I did a bunch of investor meetings, talked to a bunch of connects. Everyone was like, love the idea, love the concept. You're too young, you're unproven, we're not giving you the money. And so I kind of had my back to the wall. And when I was born, my parents, had taken out life insurance for me. I was like 25, 26 at the time. And so I cashed out my life insurance, which, after taxes was worth like maybe $13,000.
They take everything.
Yeah, no, they take a chunk.
It's wrong what they do.
But I put that all into the magazine, and that was how we funded the very first issue. And, it was kind of a running joke for a while. I was like, oh, I could say I put my life on the line for it.
You did.
Know?
You did.
Absolutely.
And since then, we found other means of funding. But in the beginning, too, like, I didn't really know what was what or, like, how to do anything. But that's always, like, a fun story. I think, one of the other sort of, I guess, little victories is, like, when we did the very first series with the art battle. So the art battle is an event we host every third Thursday of the month at Sour Mouse on Lower East Side. Shout out to them. They're our longest running partner. We've been working with them since 2021.
Really dope stuff too.
Yeah. But I remember me and my partner at the time, Bree, she and I kind of like created the art league together. And it was COVID, it was also a blizzard. So like no one showed up, and it was like 10 of us in this basement doing this battle. But it was just such a fun vibe. And we're like, yeah, there's something here. And now, 5-6 years later, we're still doing it. I think this month is actually our 60th art battle. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've been running that
Little
for a minute.
Victories is going to get more involved.
Yeah.
We're very supportive. We love you guys.
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys with it, man.
What you've done is a resource for all of the artists in this city, and it means a lot. And whether you realize it or not, like, you've helped people. I know you have, because we cling to art. And all the artists that we associate with, it's the same story all across the board. It keeps us going. It's a really dope vibe. We're really good people all the time. And congratulations to everything you've done. We're excited for the events coming up, and we'll plug you guys as well as we always do. Up Magazine.
Upmag.com.
Upmag.com.
Get issue 7 now.
Foolish for you not to get involved. This is a significant resource that TK has created, and it's a blessing to the city at this time. Take advantage. Get involved.
Yeah. And
support. Support Up.
I was going to say, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's always nice being someone who interviews other people to kind of have questions asked my way. So thank you guys for the opportunity.
And I apologize for Pat's questions because they're so long, but he's a good guy. Please, the audience, please don't judge him.
Okay.
We love you guys. Thank you for watching.
Episode 20.
Episode 20, our anniversary. Thank you very much. Little Victories for episode 20.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more wins and more laughs. Follow us at Little Victories Pod on Instagram so you don't miss a thing.